Business Spotlight, brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.
I'm Sonya Farrell. This is Business Spotlight in partnership with Cross Rhythms City Radio and Baba Baboon. Joining me in the studio this week, we've got the lovely Jonny Shelton, who is from Screen Staffordshire. Hello, Jonny.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming in for Business Spotlight. Do you like the lovely studio?
It's very impressive.
It is, isn't it?
It feels very, very professional and legit. Yeah,
Good.
Love it.
That's what we like to hear and hear, Jonny. Well, thank you again for coming in, like I say. But before we go anywhere, I'd just like you to explain, because there might be people listening out there who've not heard of Screen Staffordshire. So I just want you to elaborate a little bit on what exactly Screen Staffordshire does and what your role is.
Sure. So Screen Staffordshire is what we call a film office. A film office is most traditionally a local government function. It's part of a council. And its function really is to draw production into the area that it represents, because when production comes, when film comes or when TV comes, it brings a lot of benefits with it. So you really have to be in this game to, get the most out of that, and be there to respond to freelancers who are asking for things and what they can do with you and that sort of thing. So my job is to bring film and TV into the county as the film office manager, and I do that on behalf of Staffordshire County Council.
And how long has Screen Staffordshire been going now?
We have just ticked over into our second year. So for context, we are a 3-year pilot scheme which has been running from April 2025 and will run for 3 years from that point. The County Council signed off on a 3-year pilot programme to give this a go, see if it was something that might be worth making a permanent service in the future or might warrant further investment. So I've very, very gratefully been put in charge of that. And the first year's been a lot of fun, and we've had some really good success stories already.
And this is Business Spotlight, so I'm just going to ask you, bringing something like film productions or TV productions into an area like Stoke-on-Trent or Staffordshire as a whole, what benefits does that really bring to an area?
It can bring a lot. Depending on the format of the production, whether it's drama or feature, or it might be reality or factual or entertainment, their budgets are very often spent locally, very healthily, on a real range of needs. It's not just the very top line things that you might associate with it. It's not just cameras or lights or that sort of thing. We have to help people find accommodation. We have to help people find caterers. We have to help people find printing services or office services, all sorts really. We've had, I'll maybe go into a bit more detail on this in a second, but we've had some really good stuff in Stoke-on-Trent already, and the local spend was enormous. I'm going to dangle a carrot there because we're going to release some of our figures in the next couple of weeks, but the local businesses around where we shot, whether they were just businesses that were based nearby so they got more footfall, or it was somewhere that we could park and we used their land, or we could use their green rooms or spaces that they have, they all did really well out of it. So businesses in general can do really, really well from film and TV.
For somebody as well, who doesn't work in the industry that you're in, or, member of the general public, or if it is a business, might not realise what actually goes in to a production and what is needed.
Definitely.
So how do you sort of make businesses, or how do you educate businesses on how they can sort of get involved perhaps with something like a production?
That's a really good question, and it's something that we've put quite a lot of energy into in our first year, getting out there and making sure people are aware of the potential that they can tap into or be a part of. So I've taken part of the Port Vale Business Club, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
I am.
Because they get a really interesting group of people together. And functions like that and groups like that are opportunities where I can say, hi, we do this, and you might not be aware of it, but you might be able to bring something to this. You might be able to get something out of it. A lot of it is spreading the word and making sure we're speaking to the right people, which, in my position in the county council is really good because we're plugged in across the county, and we do really well in the city as well. Stoke are really, really friendly with that. But also I sit in the place marketing function for the county council called We Are Staffordshire, and they just know everybody, and everybody wants to support them. So we have really good ins to all these places. And I'd say by and large so far everyone's been very supportive, and crucially they've been very inquisitive. They've wanted to know what they can get out of it, and they've been asking me for time to catch up or time to understand, and it's so important that we invest our time in giving that back to them. So I try and get around and make sure that we are making everyone aware of how they can get out of this. But if I haven't got around to you yet, then just contact me and we'll chat very happily.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier, there's such a range as well of different businesses that you might not even think about. I mean, you mentioned obviously the hospitality sector, but also you mentioned like printing and things like that, which might not be, again, thought of.
No, definitely. I mean, I've worked in this for about 8 years or something, like a role kind of similar to this here and there. And I've had to help people find like nannies, translators, portable toilets, Harris fencing, all sorts. And that might not, like as you say very rightly, that might not be very obvious to someone, because it is a bit of a sector that has a perception of being a bit hard to break into.
Yeah.
And that's not just for the freelancers that want to work in it, but that's also for the businesses that want to become part of it. But it's a really wide range. It's a really, really wide spectrum. Yeah.
And then, just going on from that as well, talking about the different sectors and everything. But let's just say, for example, how long roughly is, like a film crew here or a TV crew, if they're shooting something in an area like Staffordshire, how long usually would they be staying for or looking to stay for?
That's a really good question, because it's... there isn't quite a one-size-fits-all answer, but what I would say is, based on where we are geographically and based on the types of productions I think we should be trying to attract, which is drama and feature primarily, because it has the biggest budgets attached to it, the biggest profile, the biggest opportunity, it's likely that they'll come for a few days at least, I would say, probably a couple of weeks, because of where we are. If we were right next to massive studios down south, or even in the north of England actually, and the growing hub of Digbeth and Birmingham, if we were right next to them, then we might not get as long a stay. They might just dip in and out for a day here or two, because it's easy for them and that's part of their travel radius. But if we can attract them here, then they're likely to think, okay, while we're here, because it's a cost to come here, how can we really squeeze as much out of this as possible? So the shows that we've had with us, which I can't go into too much detail about at the moment, but they're domestic broadcasters, BAFTA winners, internationally renowned drama. Overall, together, when you put those shows together, they've been with us for like getting on for 8 to 10 weeks. And I have some spend figures that I'll be announcing in more detail, but it's a very, very comfortable 6 figures that they've invested locally into lots of businesses that would be less obvious to those who are still learning about this.
And then I'm just going to ask you then as well, because you mentioned like some of the bigger, whether it's film studios down south or up north, the north of England. So I'm just going to ask you, I don't know if you can elaborate on this, but Staffordshire then, Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire. What would be the benefits of a production company coming to an area like ours, to a county like Staffordshire?
The sector travels
in comparison, perhaps.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely. It's a good question. The sector travels for locations. It doesn't necessarily travel for people. People travel for it. It travels for the right places. So, if you consider the wider context in which the UK is a really big powerhouse in this globally, we really punch above our weight. We're one of the most shot countries in the world. Production spend is often £5 to £6 billion a year in the UK. We make massive stories that are films or massive stories that are dramas. What we want to do is try and find the places that they need. Now, if we focus on Stoke, because that's where we are today, it's the architecture. It's the post-industrial architecture. And, we make a lot of period drama. And you can get really good value for money. You get gorgeous architecture. I'd like to think you get a decent service from your film office who tells you what you can do, where you can do it, if you can close the roads, if we can park you somewhere, if we can get you somewhere to stay, all those sorts of things. We try and make their lives really easy. So it's all based on location. The whole thing's based on location, I would say. So my job is to make sure that the location managers and the location scouts that we work with have access to a thorough and representative and up-to-date range of pictures or video or evidence of what we have. So I spend a lot of time going to see places. So people come to us quite a lot after our first year, because we've done a pretty good job of telling people what we have. And they go, oh, Stoke's got that. Or, oh, I saw Stoke has this. Or I saw this in the south of the county. Or I'm on this period drama and I'm looking for this. You might have this. So we can do really well from that, because I would say, and I'm biased obviously, but I would say that Staffordshire has everything apart from the sort of big modern global city. Yeah, we don't quite have that, which is fine. We have it. We have it in a period version in spades. You can make this look like London from the Victorian times easily. And also we lack a bit of a coastline, which there's not a lot we can do about. No. But otherwise we have quite a bit. You know, we have a really good range of stuff. We have massive roads you can close. We have really good long stretches of period architecture in places like Stoke or in Stafford. We have rolling countryside. We have a real range, and we have, crucially, and as I've been learning on this journey in this role over the last 18 months, we have a network of people who are not only keen to support this, but want to get involved and understand, or are really beginning to show an understanding of why that would be the case and why they should give their time towards that. Because this doesn't end with the film office. You know, I'll do as much as I can, but I need a lot of people around me and sort of externally to us to really buy into this, and that's something that we've really been growing as well.
Is that sort of then, would you say, obviously, you know, the main sort of obstacle or barrier that you might come up against yourself is, again, using the network, but finding the right networks as well for you to get, you know, like whether it's the right location or it's the right business involved? Because like you say, it sounds like there's a whole mammoth of a process of things to follow before you even get to that point of a production.
It can be. Yes, what I would say is, with UK drama and feature, which I've worked in for, like I say, about 8 years, there are certain, and this isn't to break any illusions for anybody, but there are certain themes and narratives and storylines and, crucially, eras in history that do really well on screen. So what I'm trying to say, kind of badly, I guess, is we can predict quite well what people want. The end of I've worked on some massive stuff over the last few years. I've worked on Marvel, James Bond, Mission Impossible, The Crown, Peaky Blinders, all sorts. And those massive features, you know, those big comic book films or the big spy films, I can all but guarantee at some point they'll want a big disused factory. They just will. And there'll be a chase scene through it. Or those sort of dramas will want somewhere that looks like London or New York, which I think we can do. So and that's something I've sort of understood over time. So it's starting to anticipate what it is we might be asked for, and planning ahead for that. Of course, you get the odd left field ask here and there. I've been asked for some. I try and describe it. I once described it as I've been asked for everything that you can stand on, but that's not true, because I've been asked for places that we could turn into oceans or different planets or that sort of thing. But it is a wonderfully creative sector, and for those who are still learning about this, we can transform virtually anything into anything with the right budget and the right investment from a studio. You know, we can. I've done Star Wars on the British coastline, and I've also done it in British quarries, and it's literally a different planet. And we've in my first 18 months here, we've done post-war sort of British city industrial landscapes, and we've done period shows and we've done contemporary shows that are all often set elsewhere, which is a reality we have to get used to. At this stage in our journey, at some point I'd love us to make more local stories, and that's something that's a long-term plan for me and for the film office. But at the moment, you know, we're dictated by forces that are slightly bigger than ourselves. So we're trying to pull people in to find stuff that they can make look like other places for their stories that will get recommissioned or win awards and that sort of thing, basically.
And I know, you know, we spoke off air, Jonny, as well. And I know there's certain things that you can't quite talk about or mention.
Yes.
But is there anything, aside from, you know, things that you've already talked about today already, that has taken place, or any particular broadcasters who potentially I've already been here. I might be looking to come here in the future. Is there anything at all? You know where I'm trying to go, don't you? I'm trying to get you to drop a secret, but I know you can't. But if there is anything at all where the people of Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire could maybe get a little bit more excited again about what's already been, but what could potentially be for the future.
I would say it's a very good time to get more excited in general. The County Council's investment in the Film Office is a real sign of that. Film offices aren't common in a council. It's not a statutory service. Out of, I think something like 10% of all the councils across regional England have one. There aren't many of me. I'm very blessed. I'm in a very lucky position. So it's a good time to sort of get more excited about what this can do. I can't say what we've had. I am under NDA. What I can say is they are from the world's biggest streamers, broadcasters, studios. They are domestic. They are international. They have, yes, they do. They have Oscar winners attached to them. They are BAFTA award winning, and they have spent a lot of time here. They've spent a lot of time here. This isn't just dipping in and out for a day. This is coming and hiring people. The Film Office has got 5 or 6 people hired in its first year, and they get paid and they get to pay their bills by working in film and TV, which is brilliant. And we've had businesses that have made really good, really healthy income generation from the service. And crucially, I won't spoil anything because I'm going to release some numbers fairly soon in our year 1 impact report, but we have really hit the ground running compared to the past couple of years. And I did used to work fairly closely with my current team when I was in a different job elsewhere. If you were to put it on a graph, it's almost vertical, the amount of production that we've had as an increase. I'd say it's a really good time to get excited. Really, really good time. But I can't say too much more than that.
That's absolutely fine. Johnny, before you go, if anyone is listening, whether it's a business or anyone who just wants to find out more about Screen Staffordshire, where's the best place to find you?
So, screenstaffordshire.co.uk. That's our website. We are on LinkedIn, Screen Staffordshire. We are on Instagram @ScreenStaffs. And you can always contact me at filmoffice@screenstaffordshire.co.uk, and I'll come back to you as soon as I can.
Johnny, thank you so much for coming on Business Spotlight. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Real pleasure.
Thank you. That's Jonny Shelton of Screen Staffordshire here on Business Spotlight with me, Sonya Farrell.
Business Spotlight, shining a light on our local business community. Brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.